I don't play tennis too much. I used to when I was a kid, and I knew enough about it to know something that I bet you can identify if you've ever played tennis. And even if you haven't, I bet you can identify with this as kind of a metaphor. Now, when you play tennis, there are two sides of the court, right? Your opponent can fire a shot at you, and it might come on this side over here, and it might come on that side over there. Now, that's pretty much why great tennis players hang out where? In the middle of the court. And why do they do that? Because they want to be able to handle anything that life slash the opponent fires at them. Now, if you notice, when you're standing in the middle of the court, then if it comes on, I'm right-handed, if it comes on my left side, I run over here and I hit the shot with the backhand like that. If it comes on my right side, I run over here and I hit it with my forehand. Now, here's what I learned. And I don't remember which one it was. I'm going to assume it was my forehand. But one of them was better than the other one. My forehand was better than my backhand. All right. So what did I start to do a lot? Well, I found myself kind of drifting over a little bit out of the center so I could cover more of these shots with my strong suit, my forehand, right? And if you're not careful, you end up almost off the court trying to hit everything with a forehand or get to it. And that's not the way the game's designed to be played. And all the greats, they can hit it on either side of them. Why? Because they have developed both sides of their competencies. Now, what the heck does that have to do with life? Everything. Everything. Here's what I mean. God has made you a complete tennis player. Now, I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about holistically with your makeup as a human being. Now, in your makeup, you're like this, however you want to look at it, let's call it the pie, and you got the different pieces I talk about it, or however you want to look at it. And people that have fruitful lives, you know what they have? They have something called wholeness. The whole thing is working, the whole game. In fact, the Bible has a word for this. One time, one of my favorite verses, Jesus said, "You're to be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." Now, a lot of people miss that because they interpret perfect as flawless, without blemish. Okay? Well, that's not even what that word means. That word means, in the original language, it means complete. In other words, and actually the word has a goal orientation. The word is, I think it's teleos that's used there, has a goal orientation in it that sort of like there's an end game, an end goal to which you aspire to become completely you, that you are to be all of what you were to create to be, just as God is all of who he is. Now, they're not the same. We're different. But see, you're to be whole, you're to be complete, you're to be all of you. I wrote a book called Integrity. Integrity is not just about telling the truth, or so many shallow definitions of this word. They're who they are in public as they are in private, or they're not. That's duplicity. That's not all of integrity. Integrity means complete, whole, an integer. Same word, integrity, integer. Remember back in math, an integer is what they call a whole number. So, why does life not work for us so many of the times? Because we lack wholeness. Now, that's not a moral issue, that is a maturity issue. Now, there are moral issues that keep us from getting whole, for sure. For example, we'll never achieve wholeness if we're lying. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're envious. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're judgmental. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're arrogant, for sure. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're narcissistic. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're passive. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're overly aggressive. We'll never achieve wholeness if we're not connecting. There's all these different dimensions of personhood that make us whole. That's the whole game. So what do? Well, what we do is, all of us, we try to play the whole game from one side of the court using our strengths. Using our strengths. Let's say, for example, and by strengths, I don't mean in the strengths movement way, like in terms of giftedness. A lot of confusion about that, by the way. Your gifts, you might be good at big picture thinking, or you might be good at moving things forward. You might be good at marketing or sales or art or music or whatever. That's those kind of strengths. Those are gifts. Okay. What I'm talking about, because nobody has all the gifts, what I'm talking about here is character, your makeup, not moral character only, though that's a part of it, but your whole makeup. Now, what happens with people is there's something that's less injured when we're growing up, or some way in which we made it through when we were growing up, because the other parts of us, the backhand, might have been injured or unavailable. Okay. Let's say, for example, if you think of the simplest way of looking at the whole game of life, it would be the two functions of love and work. Okay. We're designed to be relational, have love and connection in our lives, and we're designed to be aggressive. I don't mean angry, I mean initiative, moving forward, using your gifts, accomplishing things, getting it done, making up your bed, going to work, getting a paycheck, love and work, cleaning up the yard, whatever activities that are task oriented. A whole person's supposed to be able to do both. Well, let's say you grow up and there wasn't a lot of connection there. Let's say you were abandoned, or you had detached, emotionally unavailable family, parents, school, whatever. Well, what do I do when I don't have that side of the game available to me? You're really, really good at performance beforehand. And so all of life becomes about performing, right? And I find I get good feelings from performing and getting good grades or sports or, doing jobs or whatever. And that's how I kind of feel good. And that's how I cope. And then I try to do all of life leaning on that side of the game, but I'm ignoring my backhand. And then you get to some point and you get in a relationship and the other person wants a whole person, and yet we're detached or emotionally unavailable, or we're lonely and we get depressed and we crash because all that work never did fill that love bucket, right? And that's the wake up call to become whole and start to work on what you didn't get completed the first time around. Now, there's a flip side of that. Some people, they never got coached, they never got challenged, they never got resourced, they never got instructed on the performance side of life. Nobody ever challenged them, all that kind of stuff. And they just sort of like worked on the, just hanging out and their friends and relationships, and their performance is mainly around, kind of being there, right? Maybe being supportive, et cetera, et cetera. But not a lot of goal orientation there. So they go through life sometimes you see a lot of this. I've heard this a lot of times from uh, really nurturing people, moms or dads, where they kind of make all life about their connections, not too much about performance. And then, they quickly get married and they have a bunch of kids, and they're fulfilled. Their family and the kids are their whole life. They center their whole life around the kids. But then the kids leave home and they got that empty nest, and then they go into a deep depression because they never have developed that. What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? And mainly, it's been accomplishing things with family, which is very, very good. I mean, I love that. Love, 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 love. But I also think the best parents are the ones that have a performance orientation as well as a connecting orientation, because that's a whole picture for kids. So, what am I saying, guys? I'm saying, look at your life. Which side of your game, what part of your game needs to be improved? I grew up a competitive golfer, and one of the things that I learned early on, painfully, was there were shots that I just really was much stronger at hitting. Typically more like the the full shots side of the game, the long stuff and the middle irons and all that. And I just love to go to the practice range and hit those shots, thousands of balls, right? But there were other shots that I didn't feel as good about, early on. Um, sort of what they call the short game. And then my teacher, when I got serious about this, my teacher put me on a regimen, right? Where didn't want me just hitting the same shot over and over and over that felt good on the range. Made me go to the around, around the green and dump out hundreds of balls and start chipping them. And I couldn't leave until if any of you've ever played golf, hitting chip shots into a green. How long do I have to do this, coach? After you've made three of them? Well, making a chip shot is not easy. It's not like a putt. You're off the green. I got to hole it out. And he made me develop that side of my game. And you look at the great players, look at the great football teams. They got a good offense and defense. So I want you to look at these parts of your life: the ability to connect, the ability to stand up in your connections and have boundaries and limits, say, no, I'm not going to be controlled, the ability to accept less than imperfect and forgive, the ability to face pain and grieve and express your hurt and be there for others when they do, and forgive yourself and others and not be perfectionistic, the ability to take risks and be uncomfortable in learning things and getting out of your comfort zone and saying yes to a challenge around a talent or something like that. See, all of those things are part of having a full game. So let's look at it. Your intellectual development. When's the last time you read a nonfiction book that develops you in some area that you need more knowledge in? When's the last time you read a spiritual growth book? When's the last time you read a personal growth book? I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying that whatever part of our game doesn't get attention doesn't tend to grow. So let's look at life holistically. When's the last time you read a financial competency book about personal finance, for example? Let's be whole, right? Look at all of life. The game will go a lot better when we do that.